Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. It's the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for both prelims and mains examination perspective will be discussed in this session. So let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 8th of August. The first news that is about the 7th Governing Council meeting of the NITI Aayog. Second, the Great Barrier Reef and the climate threat. This is from the text and context page of the Hindu. Third is the SSLV D1 placed satellite into the wrong orbit. Although the scientist has tried well, but we again have not achieved the milestone. No worries, we can achieve it on the next time. Now, India begins cooperation with the combined maritime forces. We'll see the detail about this as well. And the last is an editorial that India, democracy and the promised republic. ये editorial है from the Hindu. Apart from the news and editorial discussion at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions, and these questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before that, if you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do not forget to press a like button. So starting the session with the first news of the day, that is the 7th Governing Council meeting of the NITI Aayog. This is precisely important for General Studies Paper 2, that is Functions and Responsibility of Union and States, Issues and Challenges Pertaining to the Federal Structure. So recently, the Prime Minister has chaired the 7th Governing Council meeting of the NITI Aayog. This is the topmost meeting which is being organized by the NITI Aayog. And it is a very important meeting that even give the idea how India is working towards the cooperative federalism, right? अगर cooperative federalism की बात करें तो उसकी जो core essence है वो governing council के meeting में evident होती है. Now this is the first in-person meeting of the governing council since 2019. We have not, basically COVID के बाद भी बहुत सारे restrictions थी जिसकी वजह से meetings को continue नहीं किया गया. And the conference was chaired by the Prime Minister, attended by the Chief Secretaries, all state UTs, senior government officers and the state government. I'll tell you the members of the Governing Council, कौन-कौन members होते हैं in the later part of this video. Now the PM has categorically lauded the states for their cooperations in the fighting of COVID-19. So the Prime Minister has categorically said that the true spirit of cooperative federalism was evident during the fighting of the COVID-19 because both the central government and the state government has worked in a close coordinations, right? So this was the images that was released in the Press Information Bureau, 7th of August 2022. Now, what is the agenda of this meeting, right? This is precisely important for your mains and prelims examination. So what was the agenda? The first and foremost was about the crop diversification, achieving India's self-sufficiency in oil seeds, pulses and agri commodities. We have seen after the war which is going between Russia and Ukraine, जो oil seed की demand है वो इंडिया में वैसे भी बढ़ी है बट जो सप्लाई है दैट हैज डिक्रीज टू अ लॉट एक्सटेंट जिसकी वजह से जो प्राइस है दैट हैज टेकन अ सर्च राइट. Now the implementations of the national education policy, this is for 2022 which government has launched. तो इसके जो पूरे core essence है उसकी implementation pan India and implementation of the national education policy for the higher education as well, and urban governance is again the priority. So you can expect a question on essay, right? आप essay में एक question expect कर सकते हैं जहाँ पे urban governance पे आपसे बातें पूछी जा सकती है, right? So this is precisely important there. Now talking about the focus on the 3 T's. So the Prime Minister has focused on 3 important T, that is the trade. First, call for trade. Second is tourism. And third is technology. This is via every India mission that is around the world. So these were again the focus and priority area of the government during the Governance Council meeting of the NITI Aayog. Now sustainable and inclusive India की बात की गई है. In this a drive towards building steady, sustainable and inclusive India, the government has categorically stated that NITI Aayog is expected to pave the way for synergy for a new era of collaborations and cooperations between the center, state and union territories. तो जो तीन organ हैं functioning के central government, state government and the union territories, they should have a proper coordination, right? And the meeting laid the emphasis on improving the presidency जो इंडिया G20 की प्लेटफॉर्म में प्रेसिडेंशिप लेगी for 2023. So this is again very important. इंडिया बेसिकली गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने ये कोशिश की है और दे आर मेकिंग देयर एफर्ट्स कि इस फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर्स को इतनी स्ट्रांग की जाए दैट वी कैन हैव अ प्रोग्रेस रोल इन द G20 प्लेटफॉर्म ऑल्सो. नाउ अबाउट द गवर्निंग काउंसिल, एज आई टोल्ड यू कि मेंबर्स कौन कौन से ये आपके लिए जानना ज़रूरी है. कई बार इस तरह के सवाल आपसे प्रीलिम्स एग्जामिनेशन में पूछे जाते हैं. So it comprises of the Prime Minister of India, first the PM, then the Chief Minister of all the state and the union territories with legislature, Lieutenant Governor and the of the UTs, जो UTs के Lieutenant Governor होते हैं वो, ex officio members जो है नीति आयोग के, Chairman, Vice Chairman of the NITI Aayog, full-time member of the NITI Aayog and Union Minister as a special NYT. So these people actually comprises of the governing council. Now, the other important news, very important for your prelims examination, even you can expect a question in the mains examination, right? So the Great Barrier Reef and the climate threat. This is precisely important for General Studies paper 3, that is conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA. So according to the annual monitoring report by the Australia Institute of Marine Sciences, which is also known as AIMS, or even you can call it in short AIMS, right? So it's a highest level, it says that the highest level of the coral cover within 36 years has been recorded in the north and central part of the Great Barrier Reef, which is located in Australia, right? So this type of news is very important because इस तरह के जब consequential news होते हैं तो वो आपके prelims में काफ़ी ज़्यादा relevant होते हैं और UPSC ने अक्सर इस पे सवाल भी पूछा हुआ है. Now the research behind the report have warned that about the current conditions of the Great Barrier Reef, which I'll be addressing as GBR. However, the experts are of the opinion that this could be quickly reversed, aiming the rising global temperatures, right? So this is something which you need to take a caution of. And this came after the reef experimented as a mass coral bleaching event, which was evident for March this year. Now something more about the report, because precisely if you're writing in mains examination specifically, तो आपको यहाँ पे बताना होगा कि क्या क्या important reports में बातों को highlight की गई है. So the Australian Institute of Marine Sciences, which is also known as AIMS, and its annual long report, which began 36 years ago, ये कोई पुरानी कोई इतनी जल्दी report नहीं आई है. It took close to 36 years, right? And the reef have surveyed through the water and aerial techniques. So the current report survey 87 reefs in the Great Barrier Reef between Australia and in May 2022. So the reef जो report है, it says that the reef system are resilient and capable of recovering from the disturbance such as accumulated heat stress, cyclone, predatory attack and so on, or providing the frequency of such disturbance is low. So this is again some of the important findings of the report. Now, what more? The new survey shows that the required level of regional wide coral cover in the northern and central GBR is evident for the first times in the AIMS survey. Now, coral reef की अगर बात करें, coral reef is measured by determining the increased cover of the hard corals. कितने hard corals बढ़े हैं उसके हिसाब से coral की जो cover है वो measure की जाती है. Now, the hard cover in the northern GBR, that is the Great Barrier Reef, has reached up to 36%, while in the central region it has reached up to 33%. तो कुछ factual data हैं जो आपको याद रखने होंगे. Now, meanwhile, the coral cover has declined in the southern region, that is from 38%, it is now 34%. तो यहाँ पे 4% की decrease देखी गई है, right? Now, the report says that the prognosis of the future disturbance suggests that the increased maritime heat wave, or heat waves की अगर बात करें, that will last longer in the ongoing risk of the COT and the outbreak of the cyclone. So about the coral reefs, so these are the images of the coral reef. This is how it's actually look like. And the corals are the marine invertebrates or animal which do not possess a spine. These type of factual information is very, very important for your prelims examination. UPSC tend to ask such question. सो मेक श्योर आपको ये बेसिक्स पता हो. अगर आप बेसिक्स कवर नहीं करेंगे फिर आप एलिमिनेशंस में भी इस तरह की चीज़ों को यूज़ नहीं कर पाएंगे. So these are the largest living structure in the planet, and the coral have a symbiotic relationship between the algae and zooxanthellae. So this question was already asked in the prelims examination by the UPSC in the prelims, right? And each coral polyps has thousands of polyps live together to form a colony, right? Colony form करती है ये, and even polyps multiply to form the copy. So accordingly इनके reproduction जो cycle है वो continue होती है. Now types of corals की अगर बात करें, basically there are two important corals. The first is known as hard coral and the second is known as soft coral. So hard coral have extra calcium carbonate जिस वजह से उसकी nature hard होती है. From the sea water to build hard and white coral are called exoskeletons. और ये बहुत सारे मेडिकल पर्पसेस में भी फिल्टर करके सॉल्ट बना करके भी इसकी यूज़ की जाती है. They are rich in calcium although. Now, the hard corals are the way for engineers for the reef ecosystem and measuring the extent of hard coral, widely accepted metrics for measuring the conditions of the coral reef. तो health of the coral reefs के लिए coral की hardness जो hard coral reefs हैं उससे identify की जाती है. Now, this is again a point that can be expected in the prelims examination. Now, the soft coral attach themselves such as other skeleton built by their ancestors. And soft coral also ate their own skeleton to the hard structure over the year, and this grow and multiply structure gradually from the coral reefs. So accordingly जो reproductive system है, जो growth है corals की वो बढ़ती रहती है. Now talking about the Great Barrier Reef which is there in Australia. So अगर भी बात करें CBR की, so this is the world largest reef system stretching across 2300 kilometer, right? This again number that can be important, and nearly 3000 individual reefs हैं वहाँ पे. It hosts close to 400 different types of coral, giving shelters to 1500 specific fish and 4000 type of mollusks. Coral reef की अगर बात करें, it supports over 25% of the marine diversity as they even take up only 1% of the sea floor. Again, a factual information that you can take a note of. Now it support लाइफ बाय रिफ्स एंड फ्यूल ग्लोबल फिशिंग इंडस्ट्री. तो फिशिंग इंडस्ट्रीज को भी इससे काफ़ी ज़्यादा एडवांटेजेस होती है. एंड इवन इफ यू सी द नंबर्स, अगर नंबर में बात करें, द कोरल रीफ सिस्टम हैज जनरेटेड 2.7 ट्रिलियन ऑफ एनुअल इनकम वैल्यू थ्रू द गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज, ट्रेड एंड टूरिज्म. बिकॉज कई लोग टूरिज्म, ऑस्ट्रेलिया की अगर बात करें स्पेशली ग्रेट बैरियर रीफ्स, इट्स अ टूरिज्म साइट्स ऑल्सो, राइट. सो और मल्टीपल इफेक्ट्स हैं, मल्टी डायमेंशनल इसके बेनिफिट्स हैं विच इज हेल्पिंग इकोनॉमी टू गेट क्लोज टू 2.7 ट्रिलियन. So this is the image of the Great Barrier Reef which is located in Australia. You can see this is the size of the ship and you can imagine the entire size of the reef which is stretching close to 2500 kilometers, right? Now SSLV D1 placed satellite into the wrong orbit. This is important for General Studies paper 3, that is achievement of India in science and technology, Indianization of technology and development of new technology. So recently the ISRO has said that the satellite launched vehicle SSD1 precisely placed satellite into the elliptical orbital instead of circular orbital. जो circular orbit में actually placed होनी थी वो elliptical orbit में placed हो गई है. So we have not made success in this attempt. Better luck next time. The best effort that was taken by the scientist should really be appreciated, right? So ISRO officials noted that the satellite is no longer usable, right? We can always learn from a mistake and make a fresh attempt so that is successful. So the issue is reasonably identified. जो reason है उनको identify कर लिया scientist ने, and the failure of a logic to identify the sensor failure has gone a slavage action caused by the deviation, जिसकी वजह से जो sensors थी वो पूरी तरह से अच्छे से identify नहीं की orbit को और एक गलत orbit के directions में निकली. The SSLV D1 suffered the data loss at the terminal phase of the mission. Now Ajadi sat, this was again a part of the entire mission. So to mark the 75th anniversary of India, basically जो 75 payloads थे, जो independence है हमारी 75, उसके हिसाब से 75 payloads को include किया गया. 750 students were there from 75 rural government schools and they have actually built it, right? अपने अपने हिसाब से उन्होंने बनाया था. Azadi suit has 8 AU cube set weight of 8 kgs. 75 different payloads थे weight around 50 grams, and girls students from the rural regional across the country were provided guidance by the scientists to build this payload. But again, nonetheless, we'll definitely achieve the success on the next attempt. We'll hope for the best. Now, low Earth orbit की अगर बात करें, so after establishing itself to the successful launch various satellite, जो PSLV होती है Polar Satellite Launched Vehicle और जो GSLV that is Geosynchronous Launch Vehicle, ISRO has targeted the SSLV marketplace this is close to 500 किलोमीटर और जिसको लो अर्थ ऑर्बिट भी कहते हैं. तो एक अच्छी एक्सप्लोरेशन मानी जा रही थी जहाँ पे इसरो लो अर्थ ऑर्बिट को एक्सप्लोर करना चाह रही थी विद इट्स सैटेलाइट. Now the EOS, that is the Earth Observatory Satellite, right, is an experimental optic remote satellite with high spatial resolution. And EOS-2 belong to the microsatellite series of the spacecraft. Now other news, that is India began cooperations with the combined maritime forces, something relevant for General Studies paper 3, that is bilateral, regional and grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So India has recently joined the US-backed military forces pairing. This is called as CMFB, a counter-terrorism coalition aimed at protecting the international water and associate members. So the announcement was made after the US President met the Prime Minister of India on the sidelines of the Quad. Quad के बारे में अगर बताऊं, Quad has a 4-member country which include India, US, Japan and Australia. So about something about the CMFB, इसके बारे में आपके लिए जानना ज़रूरी है because it can be evident for the prelims. Prelims में भी कई बार इस पे सवाल पूछे जा सकते हैं. So what is this? Basically it was established in 2001, only 12 members, and this was together known as Combined Maritime Forces. It was formed for the coalition of regional and international like-minded countries जो इंटरनेशनल थ्रेट है उनसे बचने के लिए, इंटरनेशनल टेररिज्म को रोकने के लिए, एंड अपहोल्ड द इंटरनेशनल रूल बेस्ड ऑर्डर. सो द यूनाइटेड नेशन नेवल फोर्सेस सेंट्रल कमांड नोन एज नेवसेंट, इसके बारे में आगे भी बात होगी. सो दिस वाज टास्क टू लीड विद द CMF 2001. Now presently CMFB is primarily tasked with ensuring the stability, security across 3.2 million square miles of international water, acting against the illegal non-state actors operating in the vital sea lands for the communication, right? तो जो भी illegally operate कर रही है उसको रोकना, monitor करना, surveillance करना, ये सारी ड्यूटी है CMFB की. The scope has explained just counter terrorism, counter narcotics, counter smuggling operations and suppressing the privacy in the sea routes. Now other Asian countries की अगर बात करें, पाकिस्तान, Philippines, Seychelles, Malaysia and Singapore are the member countries. Now the participation in the CMFB is voluntary. It is mandated neither by political agreement nor by the military one. So this is completely a voluntary nature. तो ये पॉइंट आप जरूर ध्यान रखिए, प्रीलिम्स में इस तरह के सवाल पूछे जा सकते हैं. Moving to the editorial of the day, that is India Democracy and the Promised for Republic. So this is something important for General Studies paper 2, that is function and responsibility of union and state and issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure. So what I'm going to discuss under this editorial, so we'll be looking into the journey so far, empowering the individual, Nehru visions of development, distance, goal and opportunity, regional differences, subversion of democracy and the way forward. So the entire editorial focuses upon the theme, that is India's journey as an independent political entity. So within few days, India will be marking 75 year of independence, right? और ये एक ऐसी independence होगी जो कि बहुत सारे important aspects को include करेगी. We'll be looking into the progress that we have made, right? So this is something kind of a progress that we have to note. 75-year government is although celebrating Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav also. So this is evident not without historical significance, but also that emerged as a British Southwest Empire expansion in 1947, right? जब उसके बाद इंडिया ने अपनी स्टेबिलिटी को मेंटेन किया फ्रॉम दैट टाइम आफ्टर इंडिपेंडेंस. यू कैन से दिस लाइन बेसिकली कॉल्स अबाउट जब इंडिपेंडेंस मिली उस टाइम से इंडिया ने अपनी डेमोक्रेसी को जो सेकुलर नेचर है अभी तक मेंटेन रखा है. दिस इज अ बिग पॉइंट टू चेस फॉर. Now, stability, however, should be low standard by to which it judged India's journey so far in the 1947. Now, journey किस तरह से रही है इंडिया की? So, as a commentator, everyone has been the expert have been commentating that India may not have succeeded in economic term. Basically, जो targets है, even the real term is 5 trillion economy, but उसके बावजूद भी जो डेमोक्रेसी की कोर एसेंस है, जिस तरह से इंडिया ने इसको मेंटेन की हुई है, दिस इज समथिंग वी शुड बी प्राउड ऑफ, राइट. बट श्योरली it is not only the protocols for the governance, but more than outcome is essentially required for the evidential. Basically, what is being produced should be as taken as an outcome, right? तो जो progress हमें मिली है इस time based divisions में, उस सारी चीज़ों को we need to work, we need to see it holistically. Empowering the individual, the significance of the democracy is that it aims to empower the individual that can leads to the kind of life or how or he should have actually valued it, right? तो individual rights, individual के खास करके जो core rights हैं उनके लिए जो progress मेड करनी है, जो welfare programs है, वो किस तरह से गवर्नमेंट ने बनाई, ये काफ़ी ज़रूरी है. The 75th anniversary of India's independence must be judged by the extent to which the advanced human development took place. Now, Nehru visions की अगर बात करें, Nehru was the first Prime Minister of India, right? And message which he said to the nation on 15th August 1947. So he basically strived for some important part where he look upon the prosperity of the common man by bringing freedom and opportunity to common man, to peasant worker in India, to fight and end poverty and ignorance of diseases, like we have seen pandemic this time also. So built up for prosperity, democratic and a progressive nations, to create social, economic and political institution that will ensure justice, fulfillment of life to every man and woman, be it belonging any gender. He called for a gender neutrality, right? So this was actually the Nehru visions, although most of the programs, most of the vision has been evident now, but और भी ज़्यादा हमें काम करने की ज़रूरत है. Post pandemic, the trend has although changed. Now, distance goal of opportunity की अगर बात करें from economic point of view, the democratic is not the way clear out. There is a layering that of the population has to take place in terms of caste and gender. And gender-based inequality is rampant in India. ये एक सच्चाई है. Within each and every social group, women are at worse than compared to men, right? Even disparity is there in terms of work and the amount that is being paid. So economic disparity है, work disparity. Now they are less nourished, less educated. This is precisely about the women, and have a representation in the institution of the governance as far as their share is concerned. So representation of women is also very poor, right, comparatively to the men. Now regional differences की अगर बात करें, on the development indicators, if you look into two important indicators, that is health and education, China has performed well comparatively India, right? But India do not poses less potential. India has a huge potential to overcome this. So it is certainly the government need to look upon the failure for the reason why we have not make it evident. And even the data that was released by the NITI Aayog shows that the multidimensional poverty in Bihar covered 50%, and it is only little 1% in Kerala. तो एक ही स्टेट में इतनी तरह के disparity क्यों है? Why we cannot make the governance process equal for each and every states, even for the union territories. Now, from south to west, a greater development is there because of the greater social transformation. तो अगर social transformation नहीं होगी, लोगों की participation नहीं होगी, government welfare program की तरफ incline नहीं होगी, तो लोगों की progress बहुत कम report की जाएगी. Now, subversion of democracy is again a point that has been highlighted in this article. So not even Nehru was persistent enough about the subversion of the democracy. And Indian state was to come after this time. First, there was emergency, which is like today constitution may not have been abrogated. जो civil rights है have a precarious existence. Even UAPA is the issue. Right? UAPA के बारे में काफ़ी ज़्यादा बात हुई है because freedom of speech and expression is again in question. So क्या subversion of democracy हो रही है? This is again an eventual point to understand. The freedom of expression of an individual is curtailed. The press has been intimidated with the religious minorities, particularly Muslims, feel insecure. And this is perceived as a weaponization of law by the state By states, I mean the central government, the state government, or the union territories. Any state which is basically again that is governing the citizen. Right? जो rules को govern करे यहाँ पे states का मतलब है either central, state or union territories. Now way forward की अगर बात करें, as like 75 years the journey, we may have to recognize such truth about our democracy, what actually the progress we have made and where we are lacking behind other countries. Now even some of the era of civil liberties over India, this could be again premature because considering the fact many cases that has reported by the international media also has raised a concern about the civil liberties in India. Now we still in an electoral democracy. The history of election holds clue a possibility at the present. This is again a true spirit of India that the democracy has been evident. And at the 75th anniversary, the country must be judged to the extent to which it has advanced the human development. Many more milestone has to be achieved. So this can be only possible by the cooperation from the central government. The citizen has to also participate and make the vision of the government possible, success, and even call for a holistic development. Now moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is C, and for second question, the correct option is A. Today's MCQ for practice, like Ambedkar Social Innovation Incubation Center. What is this? This is, it aims to boost the entrepreneurial and social amongst the SC student and the Divyajn students. The mission is under the skill development and entrepreneurship. Do check it out for the correct option. Second is Toropex. It is exercise being conducted on the Pacific Ocean region, and it is a biennial theater level operational readiness exercise. So you have to check for the correct option. This type of question might be relevant for the upcoming prelims examination. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.